Hi, my name is Emily, and this is the Delight Knits podcast, episode 12. Today is April 24th of 2022, and I plan to talk to you about what I've been knitting on, and a little bit of yarn dyeing I've done in the last couple of weeks. You can find links to everything I talk about down in the description box below, as well as links to my socials, which basically just Instagram and Ravelry, as well as my email address below if you have any questions. So I've got a couple finished objects, and the first finished object I've got is a pair of socks. So these I believe I showed last time. They are using some leftovers, and I still have a little bit left, but I'm done with socks. It is some yarn that I dyed myself. It's a 75-25 blend. It is I knit this pair of socks toe up starting with Judy's Magic Cast On, and then it's 64 stitches, and I striped every 2 rounds. It's a Fish Lips Kiss heel, and then I literally knit until I had no more of the tan left, and then I finished off with a 20 round 2x2 cuff and Jenny's surprisingly stretchy cast off. So I am not the biggest fan of wearing the Fish Lips Kiss heel, so these will go to my sister because that is her preferred heel. So here is one finished pair of socks. I got kind of burnt out on socks, and during my car ride knitting, so each work day, me and my husband drive together, and he drives and I get to sit in the front seat and knit for about 30 minutes on the way there and on the way back, so I get about an hour total of knitting. I switched to dishcloths instead of socks, and I knit 3 of this teal color. I don't remember the colorway names. It's all Knit Picks dishy. 1 of the light purple and 2 of the dark purple. So these are that. I use the Grandma's Favorite dishcloth, I think is what it is. I will link or have that in the description box below. I do the no holes version. For all of these, I increased to 45 stitches across, and then started decreasing again. These 2 I did 40, so they're a little bit smaller. My hands are a little bit smaller than normal, so probably not actually, but I figured I would want to try the smaller size. So that is that. 6 of those done, and I am working through my Knit Picks dishy stash that I bought a while back this year. I also have a couple whips and then some acquisitions in yarn dyeing. So this first whip you've seen before. It is my newspaper pullover by Locatelli, and I am making some progress on it. So you last saw me here. This is markers marking where I split first seat leaves, so I can measure that distance instead of going from the side. Makes it a little bit easier. But I was just starting the pink the last time, and I finished all of the pink section, all of the gray section, and I've just started. This will be my last section until I do the bottom ribbing. So I just started the pink. I am still loving this. It's just brioche right now, or 2-color brioche, but it is gorgeous, and I'm loving knitting on this. So this Progress Keeper is from Arkansas Yarn Co. This Progress Keeper is from Kay's Crochet Creations, I believe. I have a few from her. But I'm just knitting this 2 pattern, I believe the second size. The yarn I am using is Ruby and Rose's yarn Ruby and Rose's yarn. One of them the pink is the Sangria on Soft Rose, and the gray is the Mirror on Fragrant Rose. They're the same yardage, same plumpness. One of them just has cashmere. So that is that. and I am loving this. This is my evening project because we're finally to a routine where I get to sit and knit before bed after I put my kids to bed, which is great. I've missed that lately. And I've actually been reading as well, so reading and knitting brioche is actually possible. It's not that bad. So that's that project. I've been loving it, and let me see. So I'm holding this in my By the Bayco bag. The pin is from Kay's Crochet Creations. I don't know the bag type, but it's just a little bucket bag. It's got 2 pockets on the outside and inside. I love it. Sits under my bed until I'm using it, because then I can just reach down and grab it. It's great. I've got one more whip, but this whip is also aligned with acquisitions. So I did buy some yarn within the last 2 weeks. I have bought some mustache yarn, perfectly self-striping socks, and this is the Fields of Wildflowers colorway. It's a 75/25. Mustache yarn does 2 50-gram balls of yarn to make perfectly matching socks, which is great. I bought these along with 2 other skeins of self-striping yarn from Diane of Suburban Stitchers. She has a D-Stash account, and she's getting rid of a lot of yarn, and what a perfect way to buy self-striping yarn at a little bit of a cheaper price. So it's pretty much the only way I've bought self-striping yarn. I think I bought 1 straight from the dyer. But here's that skein of yarn, the Fields of Wildflowers. I love this. It's gorgeous. So I've just been knitting to the sock. I think this is where I'm going to start my heel. And I think I'm going to do a heel flap and gusset just because that fits me best. So I do stitch markers every 10 rounds. It's long tail cast on, 64 stitches with a 2x2 cuff. And then I think I've done 60 rounds. I think this is the 60th. This Progress Keeper is from Sassafras Knits, who I always use. Same thing with this is a set. And I love how this has a little purple on the bottom. And the bag I'm keeping it in is also Sassafras Knits. And you can see the 2 kicks right there. That's my Notions bag with everything in it that I need for socks. So that is that. I just have 1 cast on. I might cast on the second one to do. But that is my second and last whip. The other 2 skeins of yarn I purchased this last 2 weeks. I actually purchased them before I recorded the last podcast, but they didn't come in till now. So another mustache yarn. This one is Mordor Fun Run. And I believe she had this in her shop, the last email I got from her. But this one was from Suburban Stitcher. I don't know when this one was actually dyed. But it's a great rainbow self-striping sock, and I am excited to start these up. So that one, and then the last one was Desert Vista Dye Works in National Emo Day. So I love self-striping yarn, and I was super happy to be able to get a few skeins of it from a D-Stash. I think I paid $20 or $25 for, so $70 for all 3 of those, and shipping, which is great. So 9 minutes in and I'm done. No, I want to talk about the yarn that I dyed that I had also just posted a yarn dyeing blog for. So this yarn I dyed was for the Boxy Chevrons sweater by Susanne Sommer. And I know I talked about what I wanted to dye it, so here's that sweater. I know I talked about my plans for it. I wanted to do the light color as the tonal Cabernet, and then the dark color as a sand dune with Cabernet sprinkles, speckles. But the speckles didn't work out, as you probably saw if you go back and watch my yarn dyeing vlog. But pardon these messy skeins and the little bits of dog hair all in them. But here's the two tonals. Let's see if they're a little more red in camera than what they actually are. They're a little darker and more of a wine color in real life than what they show here. Don't know where, yeah, they're not that red. But they're definitely tonal because you can see the dark specks here. There's so much junk on them. I need to vacuum my floor. But these turned out great, and I will use them. I will be knitting the smallest size, and I think it calls for 3 skeins, but I'm not going to be doing as much positive ease, so I think I can get away with 2 skeins. And if not, I can always dye up a 3rd one, but we'll see. I'll definitely be alternating skeins because it's hand-dyed yarn, especially since I did it. It's not as tonal and solid. It's not as solid as probably some other indie dyers would do. Those turned out great. And you can see me dye those in my vlog. The speckled, well, I say speckled, they turned out more variegated. But here are the 2 that I did tried speckling. So we'll talk about this one first because it's the first one I dyed. So it does have a base layer of the sand dune in it, but these speckles from the Cabernet color did not settle. They did not set. You can see some spots like over here where they stayed. And you can definitely see the tonal variations of it. It's more of a variegated than it is a tonal. But this one is too similar to this. When you do black and white, maybe in editing magic, I can make this black and white real quick. They do not have enough contrast. And so this first plan did not work out. So I ended up doing a second one. This one has a little bit more contrast. I did do black and white pictures, and I'm pretty sure this one has enough contrast to be the top chevron part of this sweater. That was the dark in the picture. So we'll see. This one I didn't do the sand dune as a base color. I just speckled on the bare yarn, which you can it is a little bit lighter, and I think that's why it's lighter. But the speckles just didn't set. Either, I think the biggest thing was I was not patient enough to let them sit and settle. I probably should have let it sit probably an hour or more before I flipped the yarn and turned it. But as you can see when you watch my vlog, I flipped it, and when I picked up the yarn to flip it, there was a lot of the dye still in the water that the yarn soaked up as like a tonal and not, or soaked up and where it was spread out all over the skein instead of being speckled in specific spots. Excuse me. So it did not turn out as I wanted to or imagined, which is fine. I think this will work out just as well. It does have contrast. We'll see. We'll see if I can do black and white in editing magic here. But I think that will work. I'm hoping to cast this on maybe this week. Maybe I'll cast it up today if my kids are still asleep when I'm done with this. But it should work. If not, I frog it, and I've got another skein to use for socks or whatever, because I do love this color, and I feel like I would wear this color a lot more. Yeah. So that sweater is actually being knit for the Arkansas yarn, or the ladies at Arkansas Yarn Co. are knitting this sweater as a knit along to be able to wear during the Arkansas Yarn Crawl, which they just announced. I know it's in June. I want to say it's in the middle of June or July. I'll put the date down here when I figure it out. I know they posted it on their Instagram and they announced it this last week. But they do a meetup with everybody wearing the same sweater, and I may or may not make it that day, but I had this sweater in my favorites, and so I figured it was a great time to go ahead and cast it on with other people. That way if I had questions, there were a lot of people that were needing it. That Boxy Chevrons is the next planned cast on that I have. And then if I finish the wildflower socks, I might cast on another one of those self-striping yarns. And then until then, we'll see what I have planned on next. I do have another sweaters quantity that I've shown off here before, ready to knit the long summer cardigan by Joji Locatelli. But I don't know if I have anything after that. So, but I've got plenty of yarn to set aside ready to dye for whichever project I have. I've got plenty of yarn ready for socks, just in general, so we'll see. That's all I have going on in my knitting life. Life-wise, it's just normal things going. Last week was Easter. We spent with family. This past weekend, my parents came and visited, and we just hung out and worked around the house. They enjoyed hanging out and playing with my kids. We spent a lot of time outside because the weather was great. The weeks before, it had been raining a whole lot, and I'm glad to be done with the rain, hopefully. Everything is getting green. The pollen is out, as you can probably hear. But yeah, life's been good. I guess that is all that I have to share with you. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comment box below. If you have any questions about this yarn that I dyed, make sure you go check out that vlog. I will link it. I don't know how to do the little, like, where the eye comes up here. We'll see if I can figure that out to where I can link my yarn dyeing vlog. But I definitely am gonna do these 3, and then this one will be a pair of socks, very likely, because I'm missing a darker color in my sock inventory. Speaking of, I need to wash my socks. I think I only have like 2 or 3 pairs left that are clean. The rest need to be washed. It might be getting too hot to wear knitted socks, so. But I hope everybody is having a great time and a great day, and I hope you get some crafting in this week. Happy knitting!